from the verdant hills of Vancouver emerges the figure of Sam Sullivan, a slender yet robust soul hailing from the Canadian realm. At the tender age of 19, fate dealt him a severe blow on the slopes, fracturing his spine in a skiing mishap. Rendered immobile in limbs and torso, he embarked on a 6-year odyssey grappling with the shadows of despair and self-negation. It was amidst this existential turmoil that he found solace in the sanctuary of philosophy. "I embarked upon a philosophical quest," he reflected, "a game of meaning, if you will, wherein I sought to gaze upon the cosmos with a newfound perspective. I challenged the very architect of existence. Now, show me, I dared, what can a person do when stripped of limbs and body?" It was the Stoic philosophy of Stoicism that Sam invoked, guiding him through the arduous journey of slow, agonizing recovery and the remnants of his physical being. Sam, the voice of the disabled, demanded greater accessibility for his kin on the streets, public transport, and services of Vancouver. He advocated for public funding, introducing disabled rock climbing to the city's repertoire. His activism culminated in a remarkable ascent to the Vancouver City Council, eventually ascending to the mayoral throne in 2004. As the curtains closed on the 2006 Winter Olympics, Sam seized the monumental Olympic flag, nestling it into a custom socket on his wheelchair, swirling it triumphantly as thousands bore witness through media lenses. The aftermath saw an inundation of over 5,000 emails, letters, and calls, attesting to the profound inspiration stirred by that indelible image. Reflecting on that meteoric moment, Sam recalled the words of Stoic philosopher Epictetus, "When adversity strikes, remember that the divine, like a wrestling coach, has matched you with a formidable opponent." And why, you might ask? Because in so doing, you might emerge victorious on the Olympic stage. Within Stoic philosophy lies a poignant observation: humanity's greatest vulnerability lies in its tumultuous emotions. Thus, it proposes a path forward, a Stoic ethos to weather the storms of life's tribulations. Welcome to the Daily Reading Club, where today we delve into the topic of Stoic philosophy and its application in rational healing of life. Our discussion draws inspiration from David Fidela's work Breakfast with Seneca, which illuminates how Stoic philosophy can guide us in rationalizing our existence. The concept of rational healing may sound mundane at first glance, but its significance is profound. Consider the case of Sam Sullivan, whom we mentioned earlier. In our lives, we encounter various challenges, both big and small, that can leave us feeling disheartened. These vexations often disturb our peace of mind, leaving us feeling helpless. However, Stoic philosophy asserts that these afflictions can be remedied through the judicious application of reason, a faculty inherent in all of us, which can be honed through simple exercises. The essence of rational healing encompasses 3 key aspects. Firstly, it entails confronting negative emotions with reason. Seneca, one of the most eloquent and persuasive Stoic philosophers of ancient Rome, exemplifies this principle. Negative emotions such as anxiety, worry, anger, fear, and sadness are ubiquitous in human experience, entangling us all to varying degrees. Yet, Seneca teaches us that reason, when applied skillfully, can serve as a potent antidote to these afflictions. Imagine, if you will, a scenario. On a rainy morning, as a car sped past Mike, splattering him with roadside rainwater, he erupted in sudden fury. Yet, his emotions found no immediate outlet, for the vehicle had already vanished into the distance. It felt as though his entire day's good mood had been obliterated in an instant. This scenario exemplifies a common occurrence where individuals find themselves ensnared by negative emotions, seemingly bereft of rational refuge. However, Stoic philosophers would counsel us that within what appears to be a fleeting moment, 3 distinct events transpire. Firstly, there is the bare fact that Mike was just seen by someone. Secondly, Mike forms a judgment within himself: I have been injured. Finally, he manifests his emotions based on this judgment. If you're familiar with modern cognitive behavioral therapy, you might recognize this delineation. Indeed, the underlying principles of modern cognitive behavioral therapy are rooted in Stoic philosophy. They teach us that it is not events themselves that distress us, but rather our perceptions of them. Mike's judgment, I have been injured, is essentially his perception of the event of being splashed with water. In other words, our emotions are, in fact, triggered by our perceptions. For instance, if Mike were caught in a downpour and got soaked, would he react with the same fury? It's likely not. The difference lies in Mike's perception of the event. Different perceptions yield different emotional responses. If he could alter his perspective on the situation, he could liberate himself from the ensuing negative emotions. Stoic philosophy offers an exercise known as the disruption of obstacles. If one can disrupt these perceptions, challenging their validity and considering alternative viewpoints, they can gradually diminish the power of negative emotions. To invert one's perspective on problems is to perceive every misfortune as a new opportunity. Suppose you're endeavoring to assist someone, yet they respond with arrogance or unwillingness to cooperate. In such instances, you can practice reframing the situation by asserting that their actions haven't made your life more difficult. Rather, they are guiding you to cultivate new virtues, such as patience or understanding. We often extol successful entrepreneurs for their adeptness in seizing or even creating opportunities. Yet, for Stoics, everything presents an opportunity. A frustrating setback, unacknowledged assistance, or career hurdle, each is viewed as a chance to develop one's character and virtues. What Stoics do is transform every obstacle into an opportunity. Seneca once remarked, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." After an event, our incessant rumination often exacerbates the harm inflicted upon us. Indeed, imagination frequently serves as an accomplice to negative emotions. To curb the growth and amplification of such emotions, the first step is to employ our reason to question whether our imaginings are exaggerated and adjust our perceptions accordingly. Among the many emotions, two prevalent ones are anger and anxiety. Let's explore the virtues we need to cultivate when facing these emotions. In the eyes of Stoic philosophers, anger is one of the most dreadful emotions because its intensity easily overwhelms reason. Seneca describes anger as a transient madness, warning that anyone enslaved by such vehement emotions. Living under the tyranny of a despot, other vices may provoke the soul, but anger overturns it. After all, emotional healing relies on reason, yet anger, in its nature, directly seizes reason. So, what can we do about anger? Seneca contends that the primary cause of our anger lies in our perceptions, believing that we have been wronged or treated unfairly. In such circumstances, he advises the first step is delay. Though it may be challenging to make rational judgments when consumed by anger, delaying our response provides an opportunity for reason to intervene. The next step is to engage reason. We can use reason to reframe our perceptions, realizing that many things aren't worth our anger, and some can be dismissed with a laugh. Of course, eliminating anger doesn't mean passivity. There may be occasions where it's necessary to impose consequences on others, but by eliminating anger, we can approach these situations with the composure of a judge, rather than the frenzy of a madman. Having discussed anger, let's now turn to worry and anxiety. While not as intense as anger, they often exert a more enduring influence on our lives. According to Stoic philosophers, to heal these emotions, we must also start by changing our perceptions. So, what inappropriate notions give rise to these emotions? Such emotions primarily stem from our imagination of the distant future. We often anticipate negative events, leading to feelings of unease and anxiety in the present. Stoic philosophers acknowledge the wisdom of being prepared for adversity, recognizing that many of our worries about the future are valid. However, they advocate for facing these concerns with maturity, rather than allowing them to cause emotional distress. There's no need to suffer prematurely for imagined future misfortunes. To correct this perspective, Stoic philosophers offer a simple yet profound suggestion: practice living in the present moment. Stay focused on the present, for it's the only reality. How we live now determines our future. Worries about the future cannot change it. By maintaining awareness and mindfulness of the present, we can truly shape our future. Through this practice, your perceptions will gradually shift, and you'll realize that the imagined future doesn't exist, only the present does. By completing these Stoic exercises, you can effectively heal negative emotions in your daily life. But what if our worries persist? What if we lack the courage to move forward? Stoic philosophers advise us to cultivate gratitude, for it grants us courage. On this matter, Stoic philosophers offer fascinating insights as well. They assert that embracing gratitude for the inevitability of life and death imbues us with courage to confront challenges. Why is this so? Stoic philosophers argue that death is an inescapable reality for every individual, and it represents the primary fear of humanity. Once we learn to overcome the fear of death, there's nothing left to fear in the world. Stoic philosophers confront the topic of death directly, advocating for a simple and clear attitude: we must recognize that everyone will depart from this world eventually. At first glance, this statement may seem mundane. After all, who isn't aware of this fact? However, it embodies the most sober and rational understanding. Often, we may not deny this fact outright, but rather, we push it to the back of our minds. Stoic philosophers remind us to keep this fact in mind at all times, as Stoicism is a philosophy rooted in practical, real-life events. It's not something you can grasp magically through a single reading, it requires constant reinforcement. Of course, Stoic philosophers also provide arguments as to why death shouldn't be feared. For instance, they emphasize that death is merely a natural phenomenon in the cycle of life. However, in practical terms, they urge us to constantly remember this fact. For example, one Stoic philosopher advised his students to remember it every time they bid good night to their children. The notion that one will eventually depart from this world may initially evoke discomfort. However, Stoic philosophers suggest that confronting this reality, although initially unsettling, can ultimately enhance one's quality of life. When one acknowledges that their loved ones will eventually part ways, and the time they have together is limited, they become immensely grateful for every moment spent together. This realization broadens their perspective, fostering a greater appreciation for life. Seneca, for instance, embraced the inevitability of departing from this world and its unpredictability. This awareness enabled him to live in the present moment, treating each day as a precious gift. Before retiring for the night, he would express gratitude, and upon awakening, he would approach each new day with a sense of appreciation. Furthermore, Stoic philosophers encourage us to view everything we possess as merely borrowed from the universe. Before we arrived in this world, it existed without us, and ultimately, we return what we have borrowed. Even when faced with the departure of a deeply cherished individual, Stoic philosophy teaches us to adopt this perspective. Instead of lamenting what we've lost, we acknowledge what we've returned to the universe. The author of this book, having embraced this mindset, recalls his late father without sorrow but with fond memories of their time together. By freeing oneself from overwhelming grief, one can create space to cherish the beautiful memories shared with their loved ones. And with gratitude, the latter seems to be a superior commemoration, as Seneca posited. When our minds wander, time is silently slipping away, he remarked. This underscores one of the Stoic philosophy's core principles, the importance of living in the present moment. It signifies that the benefits of living in the present extend beyond merely alleviating needless worries, as discussed earlier. It also prevents us from squandering the time bestowed upon each life by the Creator during its journey through this world. The greatest adversary to living in the present, as Stoic philosophers highlight, is the affliction known as worry. For instance, fixating on whether one can amass greater wealth in the future or attain higher status. Seneca remarked that worry fixates solely on tomorrow but squanders today. Of course, Stoic philosophers do not oppose wealth. Indeed, as an advisor to the Roman Emperor Nero, Seneca himself was affluent. The emphasis of Stoic philosophy isn't to disregard wealth, but to transcend it. But what does transcending wealth entail? It means not relying on external material possessions to seek fulfillment in life. Seneca denounced a life of extravagance and excess despite his affluence. He advocated for a simple lifestyle, believing that it prevents people from becoming slaves to money. Take the example of author Kevin Kelly, who occasionally spends a few days sleeping in the living room, consuming only instant oatmeal and coffee. His purpose in doing so is to cultivate the ability to live frugally and simply. It's important to note that Stoic philosophy doesn't advocate for abandoning the pursuit of wealth. After all, wealth can ensure a person's material comfort and security. Instead, Stoic philosophy encourages individuals to transcend an excessive attachment to wealth and to find fulfillment within themselves, beyond the acquisition of external possessions. A family's happy and stable life, its purpose is to cultivate inner character, and the ultimate goal is to make an individual invincible and powerful. Pursuing wealth and cultivating one's inner character are not contradictory, they can coexist and complement each other. Moreover, wealthy individuals who adhere to a simple lifestyle are truly powerful. What are the four cardinal virtues advocated by Stoic philosophy? They are courage, moderation, justice, and wisdom. Through the training methods advocated by Stoic philosophy, you will find that you have cultivated an invincible character and acquired a simple way of life, perhaps even gaining more free time. The external world is ephemeral, but one's character remains immutable, as Seneca said. This is the way we enhance the quality of our lives. It allows us to immerse ourselves in a deeper experience of time, a profound sense of happiness that lasts until the last day of our lives. Having reached this point, you should be able to discern from the previous discussion some insights into Stoic philosophers' views on the relationship between the self and the world. Now, let's delve into how Stoic philosophers perceive the relationship between oneself and the world. To understand the relationship between oneself and the world, it is crucial to adopt a rational perspective. This pertains to a person's worldview. In fact, without such a perspective, whether it's rational handling of negative emotions or facing life and death with reason, their effectiveness will be greatly diminished. So, how do Stoic philosophers understand the relationship between oneself and the world? First and foremost, Stoic philosophers fully recognize our individual insignificance in the face of the universe. Whether it's achievements or failures, they are but fleeting moments in the grand river of time. Our possessions are also transient. If everything is ephemeral, what meaning is there? Doing the right thing now, that is what matters most. This is also the most important thing for Stoics. It is based on this rational understanding that Stoic philosophers adopt a humble attitude towards nature. They emphasize the need to acknowledge and respect the unavoidable laws of nature. And when facing life, their attitude is simple: to follow nature. In this regard, Stoic philosophers have an interesting metaphor. They say, imagine a dog tethered to the back of a carriage. When the carriage starts moving, the dog can happily run along with it under the pull of the carriage. Of course, it can also choose not to keep up, in which case it will just be dragged along by the carriage. This metaphor illustrates our relationship with the universe. Stoic philosophers say, fate guides those with a will, but drags along those who are unwilling. Seneca says, the troubles we encounter in life are like the dust, mud, and rain we expect to encounter on a wonderful journey. From this perspective, Stoic philosophers feel that everything we have is merely borrowed from the universe. With borrowing comes the obligation to return. This mindset brings about a byproduct. Indeed, gratitude arises when individuals engage in certain Stoic philosophical exercises. It often surprises them, fostering feelings of appreciation and admiration. Gratitude may be directed towards specific individuals or may not be directed towards anyone at all. The author of this book provides an example. One morning upon waking, his partner brought him a cup of tea. Initially, he felt gratitude towards his partner, and then towards the tea itself. As he sat up and felt the warmth of the comfortable bed beneath him and the solid roof overhead, he felt gratitude once more. Sometimes, he would even feel grateful for being able to breathe clean air and for the opportunity to sip tea while writing. In a short span of time, the author found himself feeling grateful for all these things. Stoic philosophers are precisely such a group of people. They are adept at perceiving and appreciating gratitude in simple, even mundane, things. For instance, witnessing a sunset, holding hands with a loved one, or enjoying a simple meal. In their view, life and the world are akin to a festival. They are thankful to the Creator for granting them the opportunity to journey through this world, allowing them to participate in such a festival. Regarding this state, Seneca describes it as follows: once we have driven away all that disturbs or frightens us, there will be an uninterrupted tranquility and boundless freedom. Then true greatness of soul, characterized by a gentle calmness and harmony, will follow, for fierceness always arises from weakness. Indeed, the methods provided by Stoic philosophers offer a pathway towards such a state. This kind of gradual daily practice can easily be integrated into your life in fragmented pieces. For example, Seneca himself enjoyed engaging in self-examination and reminders before bedtime each day. Seneca doesn't intend to turn us into saints. Stoicism is an event of real life. It's not a philosophy you can magically comprehend at the soul level just by reading it once. It's a lifelong pursuit and practice that requires diligent repetition and focus. Philosophy isn't something incidental, not just a one-time thing, but something to be practiced every day, ideally year after year. This is the advice Stoic philosophers recommend we adhere to. That's why for Stoic practitioners, every day is a fascinating one, full of allure. As Seneca said, even the most profound Stoic practitioners cannot completely avoid minor disturbances in life, but that's okay. As long as we cultivate stable qualities, even if temporarily disrupted, we can quickly return to a state of inner harmony, happiness, and tranquility. That concludes today's sharing. If you found today's insights helpful, don't forget to share them with your family or friends. Until next time.